one of the press conferences that I saw yesterday, and an article that also came out, is just basically starting to expose the number of victims that this man terrorized over the last who knows how many decades. So let's have a look, because we need to keep this in the spotlight, because I believe that we're not just going to get a sprinkling of information as time goes on, but I truly think and I truly hope that the dam breaks and the floodgates open and we find out every single person who was ever involved in this, who knew what and when, and who let these things go on for as long as they did. In the last video that I did on this subject, I basically just covered some of the initial charges that were in the indictment, like sex trafficking and racketeering, and I believe it was something to do with prostitution. I'm not entirely sure, but there were a lot of things that were in those initial charges. But considering how long this went on and how many people that we know had a relationship with P. Diddy and what those activities look like, and not only that, how these freak-off parties were so well known throughout Hollywood, there's going to be so much information. And I imagine that people in Hollywood are absolutely sweating about this. And I hope that they are sweating. I hope that they are losing sleep over this, because we need to know every single person that was involved in this to any degree. So trigger warning, if you need a trigger warning, there are some things, I'm not going to go into details, but there are some things that we just need to touch on. It says Diddy accused of abusing 9-year-old boy and spiking drinks with horse tranquilizer, as 120 victims come forward with shocking claims. So it says in bombshell allegations, here, I'll make this bigger so you guys can follow along. It says in bombshell allegations, an additional 120 victims have come forward to accuse rapper Sean Diddy Combs of sex abuse with several underage victims, including a 9-year-old among them. The claims were made by Texas lawyer Tony Busby, who announced he's representing 120 new victims who he believes have legitimate cases against the rapper turned media mogul. Of the 120 new victims, 25 were underage when the alleged abuse happened between 1991 and as recently as this year, Busby revealed. The youngest victims were 9, 14, and 15 when they were victimized, the high-profile lawyer announced at a press conference in Houston on Tuesday. This individual, who was 9 years old at the time, was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. This individual was sexually abused allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio, in the promise to both his parents and to himself of getting a record deal. I have a question. Did the parents know that this is what they were exchanging for that record deal? Like, did they come to them and say, let me have your kid and let me do what I want with them? And then, he's going to climb the ladder. I mean, how exactly did that conversation play out? So not only that, there was a press conference yesterday, and he does repeat, I believe this is the attorney, Tony Busby, and he goes over some of these things, but some of the other information that came out in this we need to absolutely be aware of. So let's just listen to a little bit of this.
And victims are coming forward. Our team has had at this point more than 3,285 individuals contact us with people claiming to have been victimized by Sean Combs. After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases. And you should know, to the extent the clients feel comfortable, we also intend to make these individuals available to the authorities, specifically to the FBI. And you should also know a few of them have already been spoken to by the FBI. Now, before we discuss the nature of the claims and claimants themselves, let me comment on the large volume of calls we have received since our first announcement. Even before the indictment of Sean Combs, we had received a small volume of calls and had screened a handful of cases. After the indictment of Sean Combs and the announcement that we were pursuing these claims, the floodgates opened. People who wouldn't otherwise, for a variety of reasons, are now stepping forward to make their voices heard and to pursue justice. But no, most of these people are scared. They fear backlash in their communities. They fear backlash in their own families. They are afraid of retaliation from the perpetrators and their associates. They are rightly afraid for their own personal safety. I expect that through this process, many powerful people will be exposed. Many dirty secrets will be revealed. We know what we are potentially up against. And as is always the case in situations like this, when a celebrity is involved, people can be downright mean and nasty. You would be shocked at the length fans will go, no matter the evidence to the contrary, to defend celebrities they love. I mean, there's a reason for this word fans. They're fanatics. I've personally already been threatened multiple times on social media. And when I agreed to pursue this, I expected as much. This isn't my first rodeo. But victims who step forward to have their voices heard should not be subjected to that kind of conduct. They should not be targeted.
So that was that, at least about 2.5 minutes of that conference. And he says that there have been over 3,000 people that have called with some kind of claim against Sean Combs. Of course, they're representing 120 of these people. So obviously there's probably a lot of factors in determining who has a case, who has evidence, who has just any number of things. I'm not an expert, but they obviously are not going to be able to represent over 3,000 people because you have to meet these different factors. But when it says there's this comment, why did it take so long for this to come out? As he mentioned there, this involves a lot of powerful people. This involves people that Sean Combs probably has footage of, that has info of, that has some kind of perhaps video footage of. These are all just speculation. These are not things that I know to be fact, but this is the reason that a lot of people don't speak out about these things, is because, as he said, they're afraid of retaliation. They're afraid of what is going to happen if they are exposed for their involvement on any level. Of course, this, again, in the celebrity industry, there's also a question of how is it going to affect their career? Is it going to put a black mark on their higher ability for different roles and in elevating themselves? There's so many different things, and these are people that have a lot of power, a lot of status, a lot of money, and they can make your life a living hell if you decide to step up and speak out about it. So I understand it to a point. But at the same time, the things that I have read that I'm not going to play now because they are horrific, that some of the things that these victims have experienced is beyond horrifying. And as I've mentioned before, I am somebody that listens to a lot of true crime. So I've listened to a lot of stories about particularly children experiencing this horrific abuse. And what really boggles my mind is not only the fact that anybody can do this to a child, or, to innocent people in general, but to a child specifically, the mindset that you have to be in, the sick and twisted person that you have to be to do this to a kid. But to be somebody in the vicinity of that child, whether it be a parent, a friend, an associate, a teacher, somebody that knows that this is going on, and to say nothing and allow it to happen, that is really what gets to me. I mean, psychopaths, sociopaths, they're going to do psychopathic and sociopathic things. But when you have people that perhaps are not out of their mind and they still allow these things to happen and they say nothing and they know that it is these horrific things are going on, that to me is inexcusable. I don't care what you stand to lose. I don't care what risk to your career you might face. That child knows that you know. That child knows that there's this entire crowd, an industry of people that knows that these things are going on. And they also know that nobody is standing up to protect them. And that is mind-boggling to me. And that is why I absolutely hope that we find out every single person that was involved in this, to what degree, and that to what degree they were involved, or that they knew, that they are punished to the fullest extent of the law, because this is inexcusable. One more aspect of this that I want to touch on, because we know that there are a lot of powerful people. Well, no, we can assume that there were a lot of powerful people involved in this and that knew about this. This is an article that says that there's a tape with an even more high profile celeb being shopped around. So there's somebody apparently that has been discovered that is even more powerful, more well-known, more connected than Sean Combs that was involved in this. And they have video evidence of this. So it says, a sexually explicit video of Sean Diddy Combs and another A-list celebrity is allegedly being shopped around in wake of the disgraced rapper's arrest, according to the attorney of one of his accusers. During a recent appearance on News Nation, Ariel Mitchell Kidd claimed she was contacted regarding the sale of the Diddy tapes, which she declined. There already have been tapes leaking around Hollywood, being shopped around to individuals in Hollywood. But one in particular person contacted me to shop a particular video they were in possession of, and to contact the person who was in the video to see if they were interested in purchasing the video before it became public knowledge. Mitchell Kidd claimed it was a catch and kill type of situation. However, she did not reveal the identity of the alleged participant. I can verify that it exists, that it's real, and that the person in the video is very visible. There's no question of who that person is. It doesn't seem like that person knows they were being videotaped. It didn't seem like they were an active participant in the videotaping. It seemed like they were being surreptitiously recorded. So Digital Mining Solutions says they believe it is Jay-Z. I don't know. But again, if we have two very high profile people that are involved in this and that know that this was going on, then who else knew about it? Because you can't have these kind of things going on with like the most powerful people in Hollywood and pretty much stay out of it. It would be impossible not to know that this was going on. So I think Hollywood is going down. I personally hope Hollywood goes down, because we spent years idolizing these people. We spent years supporting them and buying into the idea that they were living these flashy, happy lives because of their celebrity status and because of the money they were earning and the beautiful homes that they lived in. And they were able to sell this very shiny, sparkly idea and veneer to us. And it turns out all of it was completely fake. And I mean, of course, we knew that it was to a degree. And of course, we knew that Hollywood had these type of people in it. But the fact that this seems to be like 98% of Hollywood is disgusting to me. And every single one of them needs to be held accountable. So again, I hope, as Digital Mining Solutions says, I hope this is the beginning of the end. I couldn't agree more.